Hey guys, be sure to like and subscribe. Today we're going to talk about food shopping in the Philippines. The reason why I want to talk about food shopping in the Philippines is because it's not as easy as 1, 2, 3, run to the supermarket and get what you want. It is in some cases for some people, but mostly for Filipinos. But for Americans, it's a whole different ball game because some of us are used to Western foods, and food shopping can be very difficult because a lot of Americans like their beef. Some don't. We have vegetarians over here and stuff, but a lot of things are different. You can go in there and get bread. You can get wheat bread in some of these markets like SM. But the bread it's okay. But I like almost like, I'll say, a gourmet bread. And I like going to the French bakery and getting like a nice French sourdough bread or something like that. Only because the taste is totally different. It gives you that homemade taste, fresh from the bakery, and it just gives, anything you put on it a better flavor. Even a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or a egg McMuffin with that sourdough bread, it's better, And I just like it, because I can throw a ham and cheese sandwich into the toaster oven and just put some ham on that bread and some mozzarella cheese or some sort of cheddar cheese or something, and it melts on the bread and it warms up the ham, and it's a quick sandwich or quick snack or even a quick dinner, so I like having it that way. You could do it on the other bread too, but it's just not as flavorful. The other thing is vegetables. Some of the markets here, I'll say like Walter Mart, they do really good with their vegetables, and a lot of their selections are really much more than SM I've noticed here, okay? And I tend to go to like Walter Mart, and I like it a lot better for food shopping. But then we go to S&R for all our Western style foods when we have extra money or time to run over there, because we have to, it's a little bit of a travel, a little bit of a trip, and it takes us about an hour to get over there, sometimes a little bit longer, depending on the traffic or whatever. But anyway, it's different here because, you have to shop around for things like tomatoes sometimes. Sometimes tomatoes are hard to find. Sometimes onions can be hard to find or expensive, for that matter. Potatoes. Potatoes are not a common thing here in the Philippines, believe it or not. Yeah, you can get them, but they're a little bit expensive. It's not like you can go out and buy a bag of potatoes, which most Americans are accustomed to. I love potatoes. I love making my own potato dishes. Boiled potatoes, mashed potatoes, baked potatoes. I sound like Forrest Gump, but with the shrimp there. But anyway, yeah, there's vast differences in shopping here, and it's something that you have to get used to over here a little bit. And, for meats, you can order that from Rare Foods up in Manila, and they'll ship it to your house. They'll ship you whatever steaks you want, or, beef sapia, I forget what they call it. Anyway, they have every steak you can think of. They have seafood, they have fish, they have lobster, scallops, mussels up there. So if a lot of people that live along the coast, they love their seafood, or even inland, they love having their scallops, and having maybe a stuffed shrimp dinner, something like that, or a fried shrimp dinner. We've done that at the house. We've had fried shrimp, battered shrimp with French fries and tartar sauce. Really good meal. So a lot of you guys that come over here, it's a big change. So when you have those meals, they taste 10 times better. Because number one, you made it. Number two, you don't have it as often. Like something like a seafood platter over here, very rare. You're not going to find it any place except for Red Lobster. And Red Lobster is pretty decent here, actually, up at the Mall of Asia. I'm not sure if they're still open, but that's a place you can go, you know. And I noticed, because of the pandemic, that a lot of restaurants here, they're selling frozen goods that you can cook later. I noticed that Auntie Anne's, the people that make the pretzels, they sell frozen pretzels that you can take home and put in your toaster oven. Also, I noticed, like Gringos, you can get on Rare Foods, okay, in the restaurant section of their web page, okay, and you go on there, you can order Gringos food, Gringos chicken, and their hot sauces and everything. They're really good. But when you go to the supermarkets here, some of the supermarkets, as far as chicken and stuff like that, I'm not a big fan of SM meats because of the odor in their meat department in Tracy. I don't know how it is in the other places, but Walmart always smells clean. And when I walk into SM here, yeah, it's okay walking around the regular sections, but when you walk through the area where the meats are, there's always been like a little bit of an odor there, like a rotten meat odor, and it's not a good smell, you know, and it's very strong too. Occasionally they do have some good foods in SM, frozen foods such as strawberries, things like that, and you can also get frozen vegetables there on occasion. But frozen vegetables and strawberries should be in any market all the time, okay? And they should bring in some, maybe have a bakery or what have you in some of these places, because it's really needed, you know, to have a bakery in some of these supermarkets. And I think it'd be a welcome thing, because you get a lot of wealthy people walking into SM and they're looking for breads, they're looking for good breads, and they could even get foods, maybe some of the breads from the French bakery or whatever, and charge a few more pesos. I'd be okay with that, you know, rather than traveling all the way over to Dasma or whatever, you know. And also, the other thing over here is pastries. American pastries are very difficult to find here. And one of the things that I found here is you can't find like apple turnovers, things like that, unless you look really hard. And the French bakery has that. So when you go to like the stores like SM, Walmart, they don't have like a real pastry section where you can get like decent pastries or something really delicious. You know, they just don't have it. It's almost impossible to find. You know, they have cookies, things like that, the regular things, but a lot of things they don't have. They have potato chips. In their canned food sections, they don't have things like clam chowder, very rarely. Once in a while they'll have it, and it sells out really quickly. Campbell's soup. Everybody here is a fan of mushroom soup, apparently, because finding chicken soup is impossible. And with high blood pressure over here being a big thing because of the amount of salt that they put in the foods, they don't sell any low salt choices like from Campbell's or Progresso's or any of the soups that they have. You know, they just don't have it. So, and they should. And you can go to S&R, and S&R has some stuff in there like that, but not much, you know, but they do have all the American foods, which is good. And I'm kind of happy about that, because, you know, when I go to S&R, I can get almost anything. I can get nachos. I can get the cheese for the nachos. I can get spinach cheese dip. I can get just about anything, you know. Ham, really good hams too. Really delicious hams. I can get New Zealand grass-fed beef, ribeye. And they have a really good deal on that, by the way. It tastes a little bit different, but when you cook it on a grill, like a charcoal grill, that's what gives it its flavor and brings out all the flavor. Because somebody commented on here one time about that they bought the grass-fed ribeye from Australia and they said it didn't taste good. They didn't like it. Well, The secret is cooking it on over charcoal, okay? And give it a little bit of salt and pepper, and you'll be all set. You know, that's what gives it its flavor. Because I didn't have any complaints, to be honest with you. And I bought an expensive one, ribeye, and I bought one of the cheaper ones, and I tried them side by side, and there was no difference, really. It was good. Both were good. They were both delicious. One thing about S&R is when you go there, you load up for a month or two, and make sure you have enough room in your freezer. Make sure your fridge is big enough. So for you guys that are buying like a refrigerator over here or whatever, and you plan on going to S&R, a lot of the foods that you're going to want to buy there, you're going to want to freeze. So make sure that you have either a big freezer or a big refrigerator, because some of you guys are going to come over here and you're going to say, well, you know, your girlfriend's going to talk you into saying, she's going to say to you, we don't need a big refrigerator, we don't need a big freezer, because that's what she's used to. But now that a Westerner is living in the house, you're going to want that freezer, you're going to want that refrigerator, you're going to want to put sodas in there, or Heinekens, or, you know, a couple bottles of wine or whatever. You're going to want those, you know. So think about that when you get here, guys. Don't buy a small refrigerator. You'll regret it later. And that's one of the reasons why I have 2 refrigerators now, because I have one that's medium size and one that's medium to small. Okay, it's kind of like halfway in between. And yeah, I regret not getting a big refrigerator, you know, and freezer, because of that reason. Okay, but anyway, I wanted to throw that out there. You know, I also want to talk about the markets a little bit here. When you guys go to the markets, be very careful about meats. You know, they might have just freshly cut it, supposedly, they'll tell you that. But it might not be freshly cut. It might have been sitting out for several hours. And if you don't cook that meat really good, you're going to get really, really sick. Because most places in Western countries, I'm not sure about how it is over in Europe, when they're cutting the meat, they cut it in a refrigerated room usually. You know, and they cut it really quick, and they package it really quick so it stays fresh. And over here, you will see chicken being sold on the streets. And there's a good chance that lady or that guy that's selling that chicken has been out on the street since 5 o'clock in the morning. Now, I don't know if it's been frozen and then they go back and refreeze it at night, but I know they're not selling all that meat, because I go by at 5 in the afternoon, and you can go by in the morning, you can see them out there too, and it's the same meat. And I'm sure that that meat's not healthy, you know. And make sure that you guys talk to your girlfriends about proper food sanitation, because some of the people over here, not all, but especially from the poorer areas, food sanitation and food cleanliness is not the same as back home. And you guys don't want to keep getting sick, you know. And don't think you can just cook all this stuff out of there, because I've eaten foods that were well cooked and still gotten sick from it because the food was just bad, you know. So play it safe, guys, because it's different over here, you know. And street foods, you know, like people that are selling oranges, fruit, stuff like that, make sure that it's not sitting in the sun. It's not good for your fruit, guys. The fruit's going to taste different. It's better off that it's refrigerated and it's fresh that way, or you go to the market and you buy it from someplace that's in the shade. Because if you're out in the sun, if the food's sitting out in the sun, it's just not going to last as long as it usually does, guys. Anyway, guys, God bless, take care, and be sure to like and subscribe, guys.